guys, welcome to another episode of Can You Talk Real Quick, which is my attempt to make a lightly produced, get-to-the-guest conversation, like a lot of one-on-one interview podcasts that don't involve a whole bunch of other segments, news, etc., like my normal everyday show does. Because more than anything else, the value of me and this program is that I have access to some of the smartest, most influential, prominent folks in the country who we can learn a lot from and can influence our lives, hopefully in a positive way. And that's the case with today's guest. Ryan Busse is an old listener of the old show on Sirius XM, has told me several times how much that show meant to him that he listened to back in the day. He's also a former Firearms executive whose two sons were among the 16 Montana youth who last month won this landmark climate change lawsuit against the state. Well, my friend Ryan Busse has launched a campaign for governor. The former gun industry executive turned critic announced last week that he would seek the Democratic nomination to challenge Governor Greg Gianforte. So I called Ryan up and said, hey, man, can you talk real quick? He said, yeah. But before we get to our conversation, listen to, and it doesn't do it justice, you got to see it, but listen to his introduction ad to the race, because it's real, real good. Trigger warning, there are triggers being pulled and gunshots during this political ad. Let it fly.
I'm a ranch kid. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. I've sold almost 3 million guns, and I'm a proud Democrat. I think I grew up the same way a lot of kids in Montana did. You value your neighbors. Your family's important. If you saw something that needed to be done, you did it. Everything was your job. My Montana is a place where hardworking people make a good living for themselves, raise their kids with equal opportunity. They hunt, they fish, they work hard, they play hard, and they fight for the place that they love together. Unfortunately, the Montana that I love and that my kids have been raised in is being threatened right now. It pisses me off that Greg Gianforte just wants to sell this state to his rich buddies and turn it into a playground so only they can afford to live and play here. Me and Gianforte, it's a tale of two Montanas. Almost 300,000 miles on this old Chevy. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off.
Well, real Montanans can't afford a $5 million jet like Greg Gianforte.
You think that's his jet?
I don't think it's big enough.
As a ranch kid, I learned early on that being responsible is always your job, especially when it's difficult. That's why I stood up to the politicians and big corporations threatening to ruin the Badger 2 medicine. And it wasn't easy, but I spoke out against the dangerous radicalization in my own firearms industry because looking the other way was just not the responsible thing to do. And now, I can't stand by as multimillionaires take this state from our Montana families. I'm running for governor to obliterate that agenda. Like I said, my Montana, Gianforte's Montana, see for yourself. What's that one say, Lander?
Gianforte's 20% property tax hike.
Oh, yeah. Throw it.
This guy wants to take away my rights to control my own body.
Pull.
He sued to block river access.
Throw it.
Defunding public schools?
Pull. Two different Montanas. And I'll never stop fighting for ours.
What's that one say, Dad?
Says they're going to lie and say we can't shoot.
Let it fly.
There he is, Ryan Busse for governor. Welcome back. Congratulations on what is like more seen political ad than almost any political ad I've ever seen. That is one hell of an ad, sir.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, it's been exciting. Only been doing this like 8 days. I already kind of feel like I'm in a Bob Seger song, you know, a Turn the Page song. Like here I am in a hotel room, right? But it's been super exciting. We've had so many great events already, and there's so much pent up energy here to get rid of this guy. So yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the race. We're going to talk about the incumbent, Greg Gianforte, the issues there for Montanans, but just a little bit about you. I mean, of course, everybody knows, at least this audience and a lot of folks that watch TV, because you're on MSNBC and other networks a lot talking. And of course, you're very much an activist for gun safety in America, that you were also an executive and wrote this amazing book, which we've talked a lot about, Gunfight. Everybody knows that about you, but at what point did you think, well, I want to work in the public sector, I want to work in government, and I want to run for governor? Have you always had aspirations for politics?
I graduated with a degree in history and political science. I've been a close observer of politics. I've been involved behind the scenes, but I guess I look at what's happening in our state kind of like what happened in the industry in which I work. Like a bunch of right-wing radicals got a hold of parts of it and are ruining it, and I couldn't just walk by and let it happen. So in the gun industry, I spoke out, wrote the book, and I've been working to ratchet back some of that radicalization. And in the state here, we've got basically billion-dollar radicals who are upending the state in the same way that the industry was upended. And I can't just walk by it. My kids and my wife and my family and so many people I love care too much about this place to let them ruin it. So here we are.
You grew up there. You raised your family there, right?
Yeah. So I grew up on a ranch and farm, actually in western Kansas. I moved to Montana about 30 years ago. And yeah, I've raised my family here. We're all products of public schools. And that's another thing. This guy wants to, dismantle public schools, make everything for profit. Like everything in the state apparently needs to be sold to the highest bidder. But that's why we're doing it.
So tell us a little bit about the state of Montana. Most people haven't visited there. It's a western state, Wikipedia says, defined by its diverse terrain ranging from the Rocky Mountains to the Great Plains. It's got Helena, Bozeman, Billings, what else? Missoula? Is that?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I'm setting in Billings right now. I'm getting ready to do a speaking event here. And a lot of people in Montana think of Billings as eastern Montana, but it's really kind of central Montana. Like you drive across Montana, you can drive for 14 hours and never cross a state line. So
is that right?
It's a big place. And we've got 1.1 million people who live here. We do have what we call cities. You folks wouldn't call them cities, but we've got Missoula, Great Falls, Billings, Bozeman, Kalispell. Those are, just a few of them. They're not great big metropolitan areas, but there are population centers. And we have lots of mountain ranges and lots of rivers and lots of beautiful country.
Most people haven't been there. I plan to come there and stay in your guest room.
I've been trying to get you. Like I've only invited you 10 times.
Yeah, I'm going to come out and do a campaign event, and I'll do a whole show. We'll do a whole fundraiser.
Now we're talking.
Because I passionately dislike the incumbent governor of Montana. I think
There's a lot to dislike, Pete. There's a lot to dislike.
Well, I mean, he's like everything about Republicans that, he's anti-government, yet he's the governor. He's a super wealthy guy, and he's all for tax breaks for the wealthy and the rest of you. And this is a legitimate policy there you can talk about. And he's this really far right-wing Christian who's donated to a Bible museum and where they believe dinosaurs walked with people. His son is an
Wait a second. Your Uncle Harold did not farm T-Rexes, because in that museum it says Great Uncle Harold farmed T-Rexes. Did that not happen?
You can, but by farming them, if he means digging up their bones from millions.
No. Like, hey, wouldn't it be great to get Bobby a velociraptor for his birthday? Like that kind of farming.
Like they were farming them like they were grazing these dinosaurs, and they were shepherding around.
Correct.
And his son is openly gay, and yet he is anti-gay when it comes to policy, and even believes in this, what a lot of human rights groups think it should be a crime, this gay conversion therapy. I mean, this guy is all of the things that Republicans are really not liked by a lot of Americans for, yet he's the governor, and you want to be the governor.
Well, look, I mean, I think you hit on a lot of stuff. This is kind of the epicenter for us, right? He body slammed a reporter.
I forgot body slam. I had it in my notes.
Like the Guardian reporter says, "Hey, Mr. Gianforte, could you tell me about healthcare?" And Gianforte says, "Yeah, you're going to need some of it." Just starts beating the hell out of him.
He assaulted a journalist.
Yeah. This guy checks a lot of boxes. He's arrogant. Like you said, he flies around his own private plane. It's $2,000 an hour. Hell, you can't get a 1-bedroom apartment in Bozeman for $2,000. He's sued to block river access, which is a sacred thing here. He bought the seat. Okay. He spent $7.25 million of his own money in the last election because, we can let self-funders write the ultimate checks. And he did. I've got to do this $1,000 at a time maximum. I got really low maximum contributions, but I want to tell your audience, he's soft. We can beat him. And if we do that, if we unseat an incumbent Republican governor, dude, it's going to shock the system. And it's very possible here. This dude is not well liked. He's done so many things, instituted so many policies. He's been so arrogant. We can beat him, and it would be awesome. It would be fantastic.
One of the things apparently he's done there that's pissed off even Republicans is this kind of tax, not scam, but law that allows wealthy...
Listen to this, man. Okay, so the state of Montana starts the last legislative session, like a lot of states did, with a surplus because the federal government pumped in a bunch of money into the state. So it starts with a $2.8 billion surplus. What does he and his supermajority do? The first things they do is they rush out and give all these big corps these huge tax breaks. And then at the same time, they shift all these taxes to Montana homeowners. So every single homeowner in the state of Montana gets this huge tax increase. Now, I thought the Republicans were this I don't ever raise taxes party, but here they are raising taxes. I think they were just arrogant. They thought they could get away with it. Well, man, Montanans are pissed off about it. A lot of Republicans are pissed off about it. And that has created really a kind of a capstone on a narrative that these guys just want to sell this state to the billionaires and make it a playground for all the rich people. And man, that ain't selling.
Well, what is selling, and how come your friend John Tester is a senator? Because that's proof that a Democrat can win in a statewide election. He's one of two senators. Steve Daines is a Republican. He's the other senator. You got two congressmen. There's not a lot of people there, like you said, a million. Ryan Zinke, who is a story on his own, and Matt Rosendale, who I'm unfamiliar with in the House. But if Tester can win a statewide election, then I think you can, because Tester's whole thing is he's a farmer. He rides around on a tractor. Yeah. Your whole thing is you're a gun guy.
Yeah. So exactly right, John.
I don't mean to minimize Tester or you, but if I had to, he's the farmer. You're the gun guy.
Okay. I'll go with that. Look, Tester's won 3 times. He's going to win again because he doesn't look or act or sound like a quote unquote coastal Democrat. He acts and sounds and he is a Montana Democrat, just like I am. And I'm going to win this because these are the people that I was raised with. I think, we chatted. I grew up on a ranch. I went to high school with 16 kids outside of a town of 640 people. Like the nearest fast food restaurant where I grew up was 60 some miles, and that was just fine. It was 10 miles to pavement. And I think these are the kinds of people that Democrats largely have really kind of lost connection with. John's never lost connection with them. I've never lost connection with them. I don't know how you can say I'm going to take everybody's guns away. I don't even know how many guns I own. Yet I'm still a proponent of decency and responsibility. So like a lot of things in our country, you have to balance our rights with responsibilities. And I think our balance is way out of whack.
When it comes to the gun issue, how have you been perceived by conservative Republican Second Amendment absolutists, given your book, your activism? It's got to be a hard thing to argue with you. You're out there, your whole ad, there's guns throughout your ad. You understand every argument. You understand every caliber of every bullet. You certainly have an understanding and interpretation of the U.S. Constitution, which up until not too long ago did not interpret the Second Amendment the way that people so widely are now, that everybody can have a gun in church, at school, lunch, whatever the hell they want. How are you being attacked? How are you handling this? Is it in earnest yet?
It hasn't really started, but I'm sure it'll come, and they'll say, look, you have to be 100% absolutist on everything. I'm a believer in Second Amendment rights. I exercise them. I was hunting yesterday. I hunt with my own sons. I was just doing that a couple days ago. I have guns for self-defense. At the same time, we can't be a country that doesn't care about everybody else's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is the country if we don't do that? And these people who actually are fueling this sort of radicalized politics with guns so that we apparently can rush into this bloody civil war, like that's going to end really well. That's craziness. That's insanity. It's dangerous. And I think, honestly, most gun owners, almost all that I talk to, the ones that contact me by the hundreds, they are not okay with that. Yes, there's a loud sort of thin veneer of these people who march into capitals with AR-15s and everything else, but the average responsible gun owner, they ain't down with that. So I'm that kind of, I'm the responsible kind of gun owner. I'm not the ones that march into the Michigan Capitol with loaded ARs. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's hard to know how many really unreasonable, I'm being kind with that word, folks out there when it comes to guns, which they're animated that they need for any number of reasons, from home invasion to the immigrant caravans to whatever else. I mean,
well, Pete, they preach they're going to use them on you and me, right? They're hoping for a civil war. They want it to come. That's, again, reasonable people, when forced to make the choice, they're not okay with that. So I'm proud of being responsible gun owner. I mean, guns owner ad, you see us shooting targets with my family. My kid, it's not uncommon that he outshoots me. He's a good shot. He's shooting in the ad. How can I be anti-gun? I'm teaching my kids to shoot,
I also wonder about that. I mean, your sons were plaintiffs in this major lawsuit, which they won, the first of its kind, which we've been talking about a lot here. And at some point, I'll arrange to sit down with the boys and talk to them. And it's my bad for not getting that done. But like, don't you and your wife, who's also inserted herself in this campaign with the ad and supporting you, which is so awesome, don't you get credit for raising these two sons the Montana way, if you will? And they have been fighting for the rights of the rest of the state and the country, arguably the planet. Like, I think that your sons are making you guys, and you being running for governor and your wife potentially the first lady, they're making you look pretty good.
I think so. Look, so cool thing about Montana and about this whole issue you're talking about, 1972, the Montana Constitution was rewritten, and it was rewritten after a century of really bad exploitation by bajillionaires and corporations. And they screwed up the state in a lot of ways. So in 72, the citizens of Montana get together and they rewrite the Constitution. In the Constitution is a clearly enumerated Article 9, right to a clean and healthful environment. And so I'm a Montana constitutional conservative. It's in there. And one super cool thing about the trial, which I sat through the whole trial, unlike all these legal cases now where we hear like, gosh, what did James Madison think? And oh my geez, what did the framers think? We still have 24 framers of our Constitution alive. And the one, Maynann Ellingson is her name. She wrote Article 9. So when the kids' trial started, before the state could even pick on them, they said, well, in case anybody wonders what the Constitution means, here we have the gal who wrote it. And she sits down. She was the very first witness for 2 hours. She's fantastic. She's riveting. She's on the money. She was no BS. And so anybody that picks on that case is basically picking on the Constitution. It's clearly written. And if you don't believe it, just ask the gal who wrote it.
Man, has she endorsed you yet?
No, but
we got to
get
these. We got to get these endorsements lined up from all these important people, prominent folks. Aren't there a whole bunch of famous people that have places in Montana? Don't we need to get them to endorse you?
We call those beautiful people, Pete.
The beautiful people. Well, are there demographic changes in your state that matter, that animate voters, much less, the culture and the citizenry?
Yeah, we've had some influx from COVID. Some of it's been more conservative, kind of angry, flight. Some of it has been more progressive. I think net, it's probably about even, maybe a little bit more, slightly more Democratic when you have Missoula and Bozeman added in. And so that's one of the things we don't really know. We're trying to get our hands around what that demographic shift is. We had, it looks to people, we had kind of this red wave happen to our legislature. And this is where Gianforte was elected. That there was so much at play in 2020 that nobody really has their hands around what it is. But I can tell you, it's not nearly as red as that looked like. I mean, Tester is still going to win. I have a real shot. I'll tell you, the national political folks already have this as number 2 race behind North Carolina, right? That's how this is winnable. We're going to have to do it little bits at a time while he strokes $1.5 million checks all the time, but we can do it.
I'm so excited that you're running. I can't believe it. I think you're going to you already are an excellent candidate. I mean, you're going up against this guy, by the way, just going back to Gianforte. He hasn't announced yet, but it looks like he probably will. He's the current governor. How did he make his money, and then how did he sell out America and then just buy this election? Let's get a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so he was fortunate enough to start a tech company in the tech boom, and it was a customer service company. It's called Right Now Technologies. They ended up farming out. He was a big proponent of outsourcing, so they outsourced tons of their labor to India and other places. And then just at the right time, he sells his company to Larry Ellison at Oracle, and they pocket these hundreds and hundreds of millions of bucks, which he's now, again, buying the state with. So that's how he got his money. And Steve Daines, the senator, actually worked for him. So both of those folks essentially bought their offices, right, with the money from Right Now Technologies.
I mean, I don't know how to run a political campaign, but I would be pretty focused on a guy who made his money outsourcing jobs. I mean, you could, this whole idea that Republicans are, business owners often, and they're anti-taxes often, and they're very much, people call them job creators. But what if you're a job destroyer? I mean, why aren't we painting?
So here we have people, like, this is what they do. All that stuff that you just said is completely true. And that's why they need this radicalized politics so much, because they use the hatred and the bullshittery and the, hating each other and the Fox News-ish stuff to make us hate each other. Instead of focused on the real decent, just important governance that's supposed to happen in a state. That's why this radicalized politics is so important. And we're attacking that. I'm not shy. You can probably tell, like, I'm not afraid to throw a punch. I will be in the race every day, putting a glove on this guy every single day. I say, if Democrats, we act like we care so much, then we need to care enough to win. I care enough to win.
Man, you're firing me up. Let me ask you about this talk radio guy. I'm like, I never heard of this guy, but I'm following you on Twitter, and you're calling out this guy, Aaron Flint. And he's got a radio show there in Montana, I guess, a local AM radio show. He's a host of a Talks statewide radio show. He's a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, apparently. And yet he sounds like a coward in terms of talking to you. What's that about?
This guy is so typical of the right-wing media sphere, right? He spends every day ginning up people. I mean, just reading incendiary news clips and this, that, and the other. He spent an hour after I launched just telling everybody what a jerk I was, an hour. And he also regularly goes off on Democratic politicians. Oh, they're weenies. Oh, they're wimps. Oh, they won't come on my show. I'm like, bullshit. Watch this. So I sent him an invitation and said, dude, I'm in Billings. Your studio's right here. I'll go on for an hour. Just me. Nobody else. You can ask me whatever you want. All of a sudden, cold feet. Mr. Tough Guy thinks he's Rush Limbaugh. All of a sudden now he's like, oh, I don't know. Geez, I can't have him on. I'm like, you ain't backing out, dude. So
why won't he have you on?
He's going to back out because he's scared. He's scared.
Imagine talking about someone, trashing someone for any period of time, or even one comment, and then not confronting them face to face. What kind of a man is that?
He's scared. Just, I wouldn't be surprised if Gianforte won't debate me, right? I mean, they don't really want to face someone who cares enough to fight for the things that we say we fight. I will fight for him. I mean, he wants to lob incendiary BS at me. I ain't taking it.
Hell no, you're not. I love it. This is amazing. This is very exciting that you're all in, that you're doing this. What are what issues do you imagine that you're going to come up against? Or what kind of attacks have they been making? How can you attack a former firearms executive? I'm sure they are, and I'm sure they can.
They'll tell everybody. They'll make up names. They'll say I'm some lefty thing. I'm not. They'll probably attack my kids for being constitutional conservatives. You know what they do? They dream up every sort of name in the world and then try to make it stick. Their main shtick, Pete, is they want people to hate each other. And, like the example I use in the Montana that I have been fortunate enough to live in for 30 years, like when you drive by somebody on the road and they're broken down here, which we have lots of long spaces, roads, and it's not uncommon you see somebody broken down. Like, you don't stop and go like, hey, who do you love? Or, hey, how do you identify? Or, hey, like, in other words, you don't stop to just hate somebody. You just stop and help them out.
If I see someone with a flat tire, I'll stop and say, what do you think the proper role and size of the federal government should be before I'll help them? But that's me. I'm not a Montana guy. I'm a New York prick.
Right. So they want us all to be pricks, right? They want us to stop and say, hey, how can I hate you? No. Right. Like, it's how can I help you? And then just go on about your business. And they're going to try to do that to me. They're going to try to gin up ways to make people hate me. And okay, I'm in the arena. I am who I am. I've got a 352-page book that tells you who I am. Go read it. I don't care. I care about my kids in this state. You guys care about making people hate each other? Go for it. Whatever.
You're running to bring people together. The people that how do you bring people together that have learned to hate each other? I find that in my own town.
Well, look, I think the gun thing is a really good example. The far right has taken it so far that we, as decent, responsible people, we need to force the choice. Democrats aren't very good at forcing the choice. We need to force the choice. Do you want to be responsible and be that, or you don't want to be reasonable and be in the middle and be with people who care? Like, is this about hating each other? or is it about getting things done? And you're right about, you mentioned earlier about him wanting to constrict government. They want to do the old, make government so small they can drown it in a bathtub like that. All governmental services they're making hard. They're kicking people off their health care, off Medicare, Medicaid, making it hard to get in. On this tax, they jacked up taxes and they said, oh, well, we'll give you a little rebate maybe after we jack your taxes up. But not everybody qualifies, and you got to find all this crazy information that the state has anyway. In other words, they're just making it hard on people. I bet you 20, 30, 40% of the people can't even figure out how to apply for this rebate. So it's just them trying to make government as ineffective as they possibly can, so everybody hates government, so everybody hates each other more.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I've been doing it for 30 years or longer. Yeah. What about, you mentioned, just real quick, I want to come back to the issue that I work a lot locally on, and my mom's a public school teacher, she's retired. You mentioned that, like a lot of Republicans in Montana, they're trying to privatize public education, which arguably built America to be the powerful, wealthy country that it is. Public education. What is the controversy like in Montana?
So now you're really going to get me pissed off. Okay, we have the lowest starting teacher salary in the United States. It's about $34,000. The average house in Montana is $460,000. How does a teacher make it? Now, these numbers might not sound huge to you, but it's huge to us. We have 1,004 teacher vacancies in this state, and that is a ton. We have kids that, they don't have math class. They don't have their band teacher. And the teachers that are there ending up having to clean up the school after hours because they can't hire custodians. Meanwhile, this dude is giving away a $2.8 billion surplus to companies that make $1 billion a year and pay their CEOs $3 or $4 or $5 million. Bullshit. If we do not provide a decent, honest public education for our kids, what kind of opportunity are they going to have? I graduated with 16 kids, 16 out of 16 had an opportunity at some sort of secondary education, 100%. Some of them went to VOAG schools. Some of us went to college. Some of us went to junior college. Everybody did something. And that public education made our lives what they are, right? It provided us an equal opportunity there. Nobody was rich. We were all farm and ranch kids. Yet we got that opportunity. This dude wants to strip that. He wants to shift funding from public to private. He wants to shift funding from places that need a band teacher to places that need yoga mats and quiche pans. Bullshit. It can't happen. We have to stop it.
Well, if you're governor, I think you will. 16 people. Were you popular?
Dude, I don't know. 16 people, are you popular or unpopular? Man, you're just in there with them.
Were you all related? 16?
Okay, come on, Pete. No, that's a little, no.
Sorry.
We're all related, no.
More East Coast elitism from me. I apologize to everybody.
That's the flyover stuff. No, it was, look, I thought my childhood was awesome. I thought our public school was as good as I still do. I think it was as good as it gets. We had fantastic teachers in this little school. And what an awesome opportunity that was for kids out in rural America. We're stripping that from them. And it's no reason, or it's no surprise that people across flyover America are angry, but we're pointing the anger at the wrong stuff. This Betsy DeVos stuff, which is, big and Giffords is thinking that they want to privatize everything. Yeah. No.
Let me just ask you before I let you go about the energy issue in Montana. Obviously, your kids are active on the issue of climate and the solution being renewable energy, the future of renewable energy. As governor, you'll be very responsible for a lot of those things, I'm guessing. I don't know the sources of Montana's energy or how much renewable you've got, but what is the fight like there?
We actually have really tremendous. So it's kind of a tale of two directions, right? We've got tremendous coal reserves. Maybe the largest in the lower 48. So lots of coal here. We've got some oil. We've got also a budding and growing renewables industry, and so lots of wind. Pretty good solar for part of the year, but lots of wind resources. And I think this is a lot like Giffords signed a law, by the way, which just got ruled unconstitutional with the kids thing, but where he basically said, whatever we do, you can't consider climate change in it when we have our energy decisions. Literally mandated by law that you can't consider climate change. This is a lot like for farmers like a drought. You can't, they go out and it's dry. You can't say, oh, I forbid you from even recognizing that it's dry.
Right.
They know it's dry. They have to deal with it. Right. You either try to fix it or you adjust your crops, but you don't just like ignore it and pretend it's not there.
No, you adapt. You have to adapt.
Yeah.
To this problem.
And so it's coming to us, whether one way or another, good, bad, or ugly, it's coming to us.
Yeah.
We should be smart, get in front of it. No, we don't need to upend people's lives. Of course, it's going to be hard to do this. You're not just going to flip a switch and go from one to the other, but it's coming and we need to be smart. And there's no reason Montana can't lead it. We've got a lot of renewable resources.
The next governor of Montana, right here on Stand Up. Remember, you heard him here, and support him right now. And we'll be talking throughout the campaign, and hopefully I'll get to come out there and help campaign with you, Ryan. It's always an honor, and I'm really excited about this. You've fired me up. I'm sure people listening as well. Well,
just so everybody knows, this dude's buying this race with probably another $7 million of his own money. I could use a little bit. It's Busse for Montana.com. It's Busse for Montana.com. You can see that launch video there that Pete and I talked about too. So if you got any beer money hiding in your couch cushions, throw it on there.
There you go. Busse for Montana. All of that in the links of today's show notes and on social media. Ryan, good luck. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. There you go. Ryan Busse. Go support him right now. There's a link in the show notes to where you can donate. So check that out right now and consider a donation. Ryan has been real supportive of me throughout the years and a good friend and a part of our stand-up family. So I was really excited to have him on. Very excited to be supporting his campaign and thinking and talking more about what happens in Montana and hopefully visiting there as well. Follow him on social media and support this show right now with a paid subscription. Go to patreon.com/Pete Dominick so I can continue to pump out these interviews each and every day and sometimes more. Be the change you want to see in the world, like Ryan is, like I'm trying to be, and I'll talk to you later. Trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. We got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up. We got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up. You got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience
darkness to the voice inside. And listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up. Stand up. Got to stand up. Ooh, come on. Just stand up. Everybody got to stand up in the dark.